Today's show is brought to you by our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. Hoop season is heating up just in time for the holidays. NBA and college games are on every night, and each one is a chance to stuff your stocking with a big win on Hard Rock Bet. Your home for hoops action all season long. New customers can sign up and bet $5 on any game, and if it wins, you'll find $150 in bonus bets on top of your winnings stuffed in your stocking. Now that's holiday magic. Not sure what to place for your first bet? Hard Rock Bet just launched a brand new For You page, making it easy to find all of your favorite teams, players, and leagues all in one place. The Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook app is the only legal sportsbook for whenever you're in Florida. And it's also live in Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, Colorado, and Michigan. Coming soon to more states, too. Plus, Hard Rock Bet offers new promos every single day. So whenever you're listening, just open up the app and check out what you've got any day of the week. Download the Hard Rock Bet app and make your first deposit. All right, welcome to Hoops Tonight here at The Volume. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope all of you guys are having an incredible week. We are reacting to night 2 of the in-season tournament quarterfinals as we got an excellent showcase from 2 of the top teams in the Western Conference. How about the San Antonio Spurs beating the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Lakers to clear their way to Vegas in a showdown with the Oklahoma City Thunder? I am buying all the Spurs stock right now. I believe they are a legitimate championship contender in this league. I'm excited to dive into that game. I want to talk a little bit about this disturbing trend of the Lakers just consistently getting punked by the more athletic teams in the league. We'll dive a little bit deeper into that. Then the Oklahoma City Thunder went and casually just beat the Suns tonight by like 40 something. So we'll dig a little bit into that game as well at the tail end of the into that game as well at the tail end of the show. You guys know the drill. Before we get started, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Scroll down and like this video. It helps us a lot if you take a second just to scroll down and hit that like button. And again, if you want to get mailbag questions into our weekly mailbags, make sure you drop them in the comments here underneath this video. All right, let's talk some basketball. So as I said, tonight was an excellent showcase for 2 of the top teams in the Western Conference in both the Spurs and the Thunder. You saw everything about what makes both of those teams awesome. And then another one of the top teams in the Western Conference, you saw exactly why, no matter how many regular season games they win, I will never view them as more than just a puncher's chance upset threat. And I don't put them in that top tier of contenders with teams like Oklahoma City, Houston, and Denver. And that game in particular, let's start with the Spurs. That was a wonderful showcase of everything that's been driving their success this season. And it starts with combining the level of offense that we've seen in this now 12-game stretch without Victor Wembanyama with the game-breaking defensive talent that is Victor Wembanyama. When they combine those two things, they become what I think is an incredibly imposing playoff threat. Tonight was an awesome showcase of that offense. And they've been playing like this on offense for weeks now. Everything you saw tonight, that was not just a one-night thing. That was not just it's the Lakers and they get punked by athletes. This is stuff they've been doing to everybody. There was a little bit of weirdness tonight, like Steph Castle and Keldon Johnson hit 6 threes in this game, but it's basketball games. Weird things can happen. Marcus Smart hit 8 threes. Sometimes guys who are poor three-point shooters make a bunch of threes. Other than that, everything you saw from San Antonio was like stuff they've been doing to everybody. The athleticism in transition. They boat race the Lakers again and again in the open court, just running right around them for layups and easy threes. The consistent driving of the basketball in the half court. San Antonio's drives per game have skyrocketed since Victor Wembanyama went out because it's their primary method of generating offense at this point. It's also because De'Aaron Fox, who is a career star ball handler, is now drawing more primary matchups. It's slotting everybody else into more achievable roles. Steph Castle was feasting tonight on whoever was standing in front of him. And that driving thing has been a consistent trend. They are averaging. This is obviously the NBA.com stats haven't updated from tonight's game, but in the 11 previous games since Wemby went down, the Spurs were averaging 55 drives per game. That's sixth in the entire NBA. It's De'Aaron Fox, it's Dylan Harper, it's Steph Castle, it's Keldon Johnson. Jeremy Sohan has done it at times. Keldon Johnson has been bringing this like bully ball rim pressure element for most of the season. The drawing of fouls. The Spurs have been a top 10 free throw rate team in the league this season. Why? Because their speed constantly has defenders out of position. I saw a lot of Lakers fans complaining about officiating tonight. There is this thing that consistently happens in the NBA, and it seems bizarre on the surface, but it makes sense when you really think about it. And it's that when there is a team that is being more physically aggressive, they tend to actually get called for less fouls, and they tend to draw more fouls on their opponent. But that is literally because the more physically aggressive team is almost always getting the opponent out of position. On the offensive end, the defense is a step behind their aggression, so they're out of position and they're constantly hacking and fouling as they're getting beat. Most of those were fouls, guys. Hate to break it to you. Because the Spurs were beating you to spots on offense. And then on defense, it's the exact same thing. They were, again, the more physically aggressive team that was beating the Lakers to spots. So the Lakers weren't able to draw fouls. A team that gets a lot of fouls wasn't able to get to the foul. And there's a handful of missed calls in there. I don't want to pretend like the officiating was perfect, but there was missed calls going both ways. I had no problem with the whistle tonight. I thought the Spurs were the more physically aggressive team, and I thought they deserved to get a better whistle as a result, and they did. I thought most of those fouls were fouls. The high-level three-point shooting, they've been top 10 in both volume and percentage since Victor Wembanyama went down. And again, yes, Keldon Johnson and Steph Castle and Marcus Smart were the weird kind of low percentage guys for both teams tonight that made threes, but all those other dudes, they've been shooting the ball super well during this stretch. De'Aaron Fox has been shooting the ball super well. Devin Vassell has been shooting the ball super well. If you leave Julian Champagnie and Harrison Barnes open, they're going to make shots. Harrison Barnes was torching Luka for helping off of him in this game with just easy little catch-and-shoot jump shots. He's refined his release so much that it's so quick. He can get it off in such a small window of space. Again, the Spurs have been the 7th-ranked offense in the league since Wemby went down. And you saw all of that on display. Their guards, Fox and Harper and Steph Castle, they were able to get wherever they wanted on the floor over and over and over again. The transition stuff, like the Lakers deserve some blame there too. I thought they showed some pretty embarrassing effort on that front as they were bitching at the refs and not running back and not talking and getting matched up. A lot of sloppy stuff from the Lakers. We'll talk about them later. But that's something the Spurs can do. They can outrun you. They got layups and threes all night. Steph Castle, another 30-piece coming back. Like, the one thing that continues to blow my mind with Steph is how he can win the ground battle on drives. We've talked about this on the show before, but like when you drive to the basket, generally speaking, it's not going to just be a layup line. There's usually a little bit of physical contact. The dude's going to slide with you. He's going to try to hit that shoulder on your shoulder and try to kind of win that leverage battle to flatten out your drive and force you to go lateral to the basket rather than directly at the basket. And Steph Castle just tends to blow through those shoulders. You saw so many examples of that tonight. The 2 little transition buckets on Luka. Luka's there, but Steph is just like power dribble. Boom, hit you with that left shoulder. You're going flying. I'm going right up for a little layup. Killed the Lakers guards all night long with straight line drives. De'Aaron Fox, it's a little bit more of like the shimmy shake. He's got a lot of stuff with the handle. There's a lot more like refined skill stuff with him because he's not the athlete that Steph Castle is, but he's getting wherever he wants on the floor. Again, getting to the foul line a ton as the Lakers are constantly out of position. Everyone's hitting threes. You saw it all tonight. And it's just exciting to think about what this all could look like when they get Victor Wembanyama back. Because again, like, Victor brings the game-breaking defensive weapon. I don't know. I've seen, there's some people that are like, oh, well, the offense wasn't as good when Victor was playing. De'Aaron Fox wasn't playing. There's a whole element to their offense now that they're going to have with De'Aaron Fox that is going to weaponize the ball screen attack with Victor Wembanyama in a way that it wasn't weaponized earlier. De'Aaron Fox is such a gifted skip passer. He's so good at reading the low man and hitting the weak side corner. Like, I think Victor's going to come back and just add to this offense. And with his ability to break the game on defense, like, you guys saw how much damage the Lakers did when they did actually get into the half court in their pick and roll attack. They were able to score pretty effectively against the Luke Kornet drop coverage. That's going to be a lot harder when that's Victor Wembanyama. And one of the big things with Victor is there's a force multiplier factor with the athletes around him. Like, I love how athletic their perimeter guys are and how that specifically complements Victor. They killed the Lakers on the glass tonight, too. And it's because all of their guards scrap. Keldon Johnson annihilates teams on the glass. Their pathway to winning the Western Conference is combining all of those things. Combining the game-breaking defensive weapon that is Victor, all the scrappy athleticism off the ball defensively and on the glass with all their perimeter players. Combining the way they've shot the ball in this stretch with how De'Aaron Fox has been as a pick-and-roll shot creator, with Victor Wembanyama as an additional offensive weapon. Combining all of that is how they generate a path to win the Western Conference. I'm super, super excited to see their showdown with the Thunder on Saturday night. Again, we're going to be breaking that game down live here on YouTube after the final buzzer on Saturday night. I'm buying all this Spurs stock, man. Like, we have our on Friday. I actually recorded it today, so that video is already done, but it's going to be airing on Friday. I talked about how one of the biggest things I was wrong about the season. We did like our what's right, what's wrong from my preseason predictions. I did 5 things I was right about and 5 things I was wrong about. And one of the things I was wrong about was I just could not have been more wrong about the Spurs team. And I'm buying all the stock right now. I just think they're awesome. I don't think this is like a fun, spunky young team anymore. I view this as a legitimate championship contending team in this league. I think we need to see a little bit more to put them up in that like Denver OKC group, but like, I firmly think they're every bit. I mean, they demonstrated they're every bit as good, if not better, than the Lakers tonight. I think they're every bit as good, if not better, than the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're probably closer to Houston than we think. Like, I think this is just I think this team is ready right now to compete for a championship. The Lakers, on the other hand, they've also been one of the best teams in the NBA to start the season. But no matter how many games they've won, even though they have Luka Doncic, even though they have Austin Reeves and LeBron James, I have refused to include them in my top tier of contenders alongside Oklahoma City, Denver, and Houston for one reason. They have just consistently been physically dominated by more athletic teams, seemingly at every opportunity. The good, more athletic teams, the bigger physical athletic teams on the perimeter, not just small and fast like Philly, for example. And no matter how many regular season games they win, there will always be this dark cloud that hangs over the team in the form of that giant question mark. This week was another opportunity for the Lakers to prove all the guys like me wrong about them for holding that weakness over their head. And yet they went out there again tonight and got punked again. And all of the same things came to the surface again. Luka will fill the box score, but in these games, he's made a ton of mistakes on both ends of the floor that undercut his impact, so he fails to control the game. This is becoming a disturbing trend with Austin Reeves, where he's like, his ceiling is a ceiling, his averages are his averages, but his floor, he has been so bad on both ends of the floor against these types of teams. Like, he was downright awful tonight. He got picked clean at half court twice by De'Aaron Fox for pick sixes. Couldn't score the ball effectively at all at any range. Couldn't hit spot up threes. Couldn't hit off the dribble threes. Wasn't hitting anything from the mid range. Was missing everything at the basket. And then on the other end, he was getting picked on relentlessly by San Antonio's guards. He couldn't keep the ball in front of him to save his life. They were toying with him. It's too large of a sample size now where this just keeps happening with him. LeBron played really hard and he had some highlights. That dunk on Luke Cornett was a fun one for sure, but he also made several mistakes, and he's damn near 41 years old. He doesn't have the juice to take over a game like this. And none of their bench players other than Marcus Smart were able to have any sort of real impact on the game. And the reason why Marcus Smart had the positive plus minus was because he had 8 threes. Like Marcus was also getting blown by on the perimeter. He made some plays. He was active. I thought he did better than anybody else did, but like he was also physically overmatched in this game. And there's like a bit of a mental element too. It feels like they're getting punked. They're complaining to refs. They're losing discipline. That sequence at the end of the half, LeBron dunks on Luke Cornett. They go down, they get a stop. Luke Cornett makes an unbelievable defensive play. One of the plays of the night, that block on Austin Reeves at the rim, felt like a complete momentum stopper. Whatever. You go down to the other end. De'Aaron Fox hits a tough contested floater. That's going to happen. You gapped him well. Your transition defense was good. I thought it was a solid possession. That pushes the lead back to 10. You go down to the other end of the floor. Luka misses, complains at the refs, and literally him and Jackson Hayes refuse to run back on defense, and the Spurs just go down the floor and get a dunk. It was like they decompose in these games. Again, like they didn't lose to San Antonio. They got the shit kicked out of them. They didn't lose to Phoenix. They got the shit kicked out of them. They didn't lose to Oklahoma City. They got the shit kicked out of them. It's becoming too consistent of a trend. These same exact things just keep happening in these types of games. And they get killed. And look, they're going to have their chances to rectify this. If I understand the scheduling for this tournament, I think the Lakers are going to get to play Phoenix now. Well, guess what? They were the team before the Spurs to punk the Lakers on their home floor. So we'll see if they do a better job in that game. But even then, that's just like an entry-level test. Phoenix isn't as good as San Antonio. And San Antonio is not as good as OKC. So I don't care how many regular season games the Lakers win. We could fast forward 6 weeks and they could be 30-10. And I would still view them as a non-threat until they demonstrate they can handle this kind of opponent. That's the difference between Denver and Houston and the Lakers. I know what Denver does works in the postseason. I know it works against the athletic teams in the NBA. I know they're going to be able to score against OKC. I know they're going to be able to get a certain amount of stops because they can stay mentally focused and do their jobs, keep the ball in front, and just come up with a game plan that allows them to compete. Houston, like I know their size and their defense. I know that translates. That's not something that doesn't translate to the postseason. I don't know if any of what the Lakers do translates to the postseason. It just was incredibly disappointing. I thought they got punked tonight. And like, look, like you want to tell me that San Antonio had some guys hit some threes that they don't usually make threes? Like, sure, whatever. Marcus Smart hit 8 of them, guys. This was an outclassing. It was just so disappointing. And like, again, it's just like every time they run into this test, the exact same thing happens. We'll see what happens against Phoenix. not a good night for the Lakers. Moving on to Suns Thunder. Not a whole lot to get into here. The Thunder just beat the absolute shit out of Phoenix from the opening tip. I think the Suns really felt the loss of Devin Booker in this one. Colin Gillespie and Dillon Brooks were just utterly hopeless to create advantage against this defense. Colin got ripped at half court on the first play of the game by Cason Wallace for a run out dunk. He had 4 turnovers in the game. Dillon Brooks could like barely get the ball over the front end of the rim, let alone make a shot. But I'm not sure how much it would have mattered because the Thunder are just playing truly special hoops right now. This was their 3rd consecutive 20-plus point win. Their total margin of victory over the last 3 games is 100 points. The Suns tried to park Mark Williams under the rim to deter drives early in the game. Chet Holmgren went 4 for 4 from 3 to make that impossible. His first shift was ridiculous. Just killed Mark Williams. Hit 2 threes where Mark was sinking down into the paint. Had another one where he drove a closeout and hit Cason Wallace in the right corner for a wide open 3. On defense, he was like flustering Dillon Brooks and like defending him well one-on-one, but also blocking him at the rim. He had like a really nice play where he slipped out of a screen at the top of the key and like hit a little mid-range jumper. Then he came right in for a second shift and did the exact same damn thing. Burned Oso Iguodala for helping off of him by hitting another three. He blocked Dillon Brooks again. He got Bouye on a switch and just attacked him right to the front of the rim. We're going to get into a deeper dive into this on Friday, but he did an incredible job over the course of the last couple of weeks of driving the basketball in his one-on-ones. It's been one of the trends that's made him a really effective one-on-one player this year. Chet's just been dominant, and he was dominant in that first half. Shai had a handful of sloppy turnovers, only the second time this year that he's had 4 turnovers in a game, but that was like the extent to which Phoenix's defense did anything to bother Oklahoma City's offense. Like, Shai was surgical in this game with his drives and kickouts. He finished with 28 points and 8 assists in just 27 minutes on just 15 shots. As a team, the Thunder were 28 for 40 from 3. We talked about this on Monday, but the Thunder have been top 5 in unguarded catch-and-shoot three-point percentage this season. Leaving their role players open just doesn't work like it did in years past. Lou Dort caught a heater at the end of the half, and J-Dub and Shai both added in a 3. They blew this thing. It was over so fast. They forced 21 turnovers and scored 34 points off of those turnovers. They're continuing to widen the gap between them and the rest of the league in that regard. They're averaging 25 points per game off of turnovers. No one else in the league is getting over 22, and they're allowing just 12 points off of turnovers. That's 13 points of margin every single night. Again, I have an episode that I recorded today that's coming out on Friday, and one of the segments in there is talking about the Thunder, and I was wrong to not pick them to win the title before the season, and in my next contender rankings, I'm putting them in their own tier at the top of the league. I'm not going to go into too much more detail on that today because I'm going into a lot of detail, dig into a lot of the metrics on each specific player and how they've gotten better in every facet of the game this season, so I'll save that for Friday. But to be frank, I think there's only a handful of teams in the NBA that even have a shot to compete with Oklahoma City, like keep games close, let alone win. And at the very best, those teams are just upset threats. I don't think anyone has any business picking against OKC in any way at this point. I think it's more likely than not that they win over 70 games. I think it's a very high possibility that they break the NBA's all-time wins record and get something like 74, 75. This is not a veteran team that's going to deal with a lack of effort. They're young. They're deep. They can handle their stars being out. They have a better net rating with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander off the floor than every other team in the NBA does in total for the entire season. When you talk about like the all-time great teams, there's layers you have to get through, right? Like, in order to be all-time great, you got to be a multi-time champion. I talked about this with the Celtics after they won in 2024. You got to win multiple championships, preferably 2 in a row. Like, if you space them out like the Spurs that can get a little less respect than teams that win 2 in a row, that win 3 in a row. There are dominance factors, like how many regular season games did you win? How many playoff games did you lose? Like the 2017 Warriors, they swept the Western Conference. They won 15 consecutive playoff games. The 2001 Lakers did something similar. I think all of that is in reach for this Thunder team. I think they could be looking at over 140 regular season wins over a 2-year span. They just got to win 72 to make that happen. I say just as if that's easy, but it just feels like if you ask me, like 72 wins, do the Thunder get there? It feels like coin flip or better that they do. That's how good this team is. If they dominate in this playoff run, like they only lose 1 or 2 games, like no one's going to care about the fact that they lost more games last year. I'm just done putting a ceiling on this group. I think they're destined to be one of the great teams in NBA history. Last thing I'll talk about on this note, because I think this is kind of interesting with the Luka and Shai debate. I think Shai's been better than Luka this year. And one of the specific reasons why is kind of like what we saw with Luka against San Antonio tonight, with Luka against Phoenix, with Luka against the Thunder back in November. Shai has this like surgical, mistake-free approach to basketball. I don't think Shai's an outstanding defender by any measure, but he makes substantially fewer mistakes than Luka does. He's not as much of an on-ball weakness as Luka is. He's not the defensive rebounder that Luka is, but he still is a good, scrappy kind of player that can make plays. He had a sequence in the second half, it was either like late first half, early second half. Can't remember exactly what it was, but he had like back-to-back steals in the, I think it was early second half, out front, like just picked the ball clean and then got a steal in the passing lane he got a driving dunk on one, had a lob to Chet Holmgren on the other one. Like, he can make plays on defense. He's actually a pretty impactful overall defensive player on that end of the floor. But the main thing that has had me put Shai over Luka to this point in the season is the lack of mistake making. Like, Luka undercut so much of his success with sloppy turnovers, with jogging back in transition, bitching at the refs, with just little sequences of decisions where he'll like do 2 or 3, bad things over a 4 possession span, and it undercuts some of his success. Shai has increased his scoring volume per minute and increased his efficiency and lowered his turnovers this year. He's averaging less than 2 turnovers a game. And it's allowing whatever his overall impact is to stop being undercut by the kinds of mistakes that you see from a guy like Luka. I just think Shai's been unbelievable. I think the only player in the NBA that's still better than him is Nikola Jokic at this point. And look, we dig a little bit into that in the Friday episode, so I'll save that for then. But like, just again, an incredible showcase for 2 of the top teams in the Western Conference tonight between San Antonio in Oklahoma City. I'm very, very excited to watch them play on Saturday. I hope Wemby plays in that game. That would be awesome. So we could see a little bit of the physical dynamic that San Antonio can present defensively against Oklahoma City. And in the big picture, like, NBA fans, if you don't like the Thunder and you want someone to beat them, I think San Antonio is the only team I'm seeing out there right now that seems to have much of a shot, other than maybe Houston in the long run. But I mean, they've got a little bit of a shorter window built around Kevin Durant. It's kind of a weird era. You're seeing all these older teams flame out bad, and there's just this new group of young teams, and they're just full of a bunch of ass-kicking good young players, and kind of feels like the shift is happening, right? And it's going to be fun covering these guys over the course of the next several years as we move into this next era of NBA basketball. All right, guys, that's all I have for tonight. As always, I sincerely appreciate you guys for supporting us and supporting the show. No show tomorrow morning. I have Lakers Collective with Trevor and Jovan. If you want to hear me come bitch and moan about the Lakers for an hour with those guys, that'll be going on at 11 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow. And then Friday morning, again, I have that episode with the 5 biggest predictions I was right about and 5 biggest predictions I was wrong about. That's coming out on Friday. And then Saturday night, live on YouTube after the final buzzer of Thunder Spurs. I will see you guys then.